Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description.
Orochimaru is one of the 3 legendary shinobi or sannin. He is only interested in experiments, studying new techniques. He has never fallen in love, and when the scientist, fixated only on strength, doubted that he would ever be able to love anyone. But, nevertheless, his newborn daughter literally made the great Sannin's heart tremble. Orochimaru has snow-pale skin, prominent cheekbones, long black hair, golden eyes, and a vertical pupil, purple markings around his eyes, snow-white fangs, and a long tongue. His appearance is somewhat reminiscent of a snake. Flashback. "Let's go get a drink?" asked a girl of about 20, long blonde hair tied in a ponytail, rather pleasant colored eyes, light pink lips, a purple diamond in the middle of her forehead and large bust. The girl's name was Tsunade Senju. She was on the team with Orochimaru and Jiraiya. She is also a sannin. "You only want to drink," the guy answered her, about her age, white hair sticking out in different directions, dark eyes, from them red streaks that look like tears. His name is Jiraiya, and he is also a sannin. Tsunade still managed to persuade her teammates to go with her for a drink. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a drunk Tsunade sitting at the bar, drinking an unknown glass of sake, Jiraiya sleeping on the bar counter, and Orochimaru, although he didn't look like a person who had drunk a huge amount of alcohol. Unlike his friends, he could still think and reason soberly. "I'll go," Orochimaru barely said, his tongue twisted from the alcohol. "Stop. Hick, first walk me home. There are all sorts of perverts walking the streets," Tsunade told him, finishing her bottle. Orochimaru grimaced, but still walked her home, because he definitely didn't want to get it. Orochimaru approached the slime princess's house and, holding her by the waist, entered the house, putting the sannin on the bed so that she would not fall. The snake sannin was ready to go home, get some sleep, and continue working again. But Tsunade grabbed Orochimaru's hand and pulled him towards herself. He could not hold on and almost fell on the blonde. Barely managing to lean his hands on the side of the bed, he asked, "What are you doing?" He tried to get up, but his neck was wrapped in his girlfriend's arms, and his lips were covered by the lips of Shodai's granddaughter. The sannin did not know what to do, but still responded to the kiss. Giving in to desire, 2 adults set off for the land of passion and love. The sun illuminated the land. Life in Konoha was in full swing. Shinobi came home after difficult missions, and some were just leaving for them. Children went to the academy to learn the art of shinobi, and ordinary civilians opened their shops. A ray of sun hit the sleeping Tsunade's face, her head resting on her friend's chest. Opening her eyes, she had a terrible headache. At first she didn't understand anything, turning her gaze to her peacefully sleeping teammate. Senju blushed sharply, resembling a boiled lobster. Tsunade pushed Orochimaru to the floor. Accordingly, he woke up. Having analyzed the situation, his cheeks burned. Having come to his senses, Orochimaru began to dress hastily. "So nothing happened between us, you understand?" Tsunade asked, her voice not tolerating any objections. "I agree," Orochimaru answered her, stretching the letter S in his favorite manner. A little later, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Tsunade closed her eyes. "Oh God," was the only thing Senju squeezed out. 2 months passed since that night. Friends did not remember this story. They did not want to. Senju was sitting in the kitchen and eating marmalade with fish. This dish did not disgust her, on the contrary, some kind of pleasure. Finishing the last pack of marmalade, Tsunade tensed up and began to scroll through the symptoms of her illness in her head. After thinking about it, it dawned on her. Toxicosis, delayed period, strange food preferences. She was pregnant. After examining her stomach with the green cloud of chakra, her suspicions were confirmed. Senju was filled with conflicting feelings. He is the child's father, so let him be responsible for what he did, Tsunade said, and headed towards Orochimaru's house. After a 2-minute wait, the door opened, and a sleepy sannin appeared in front of her, in a blue t-shirt and pants of the same color. "Congratulations, Orochimaru." Tsunade smiled and stroked her stomach, naively believing that he would understand everything himself. "WW with what?" Orochimaru asked, not paying attention to Tsunade's hand. "You're going to be a father," Tsunade said in an irritated tone. Are you sure that I am the father? Yes, this is your child. If you decided that you can escape responsibility, then you, Tsunade threatened, flexing her fingers. I didn't say that I was shirking responsibility, first of all, and secondly, I'm not abandoning the child, said Orochimaru. The child is not guilty of anything, especially not that his parents are idiots. Okay, fine, Senju calmed down, turning towards the store, probably to buy marmalade for the fish. A child must be born in marriage, the scientist told the blonde when she was 3 months pregnant. That's why Tsunade and Orochimaru got married and were officially considered husband and wife. Tsunade's pregnancy was going well, her husband was always there and protected her. After all, she was carrying his child. The snake Sannin took out of the house almost every day all the alcohol that his wife hid. She knew perfectly well that its consumption was a danger to the child's life. And she honestly tried not to drink. Mito's granddaughter understood that for her, alcohol was a pleasure, but for the child, it was poison. And when Orochimaru caught her drinking, he got very angry, giving a lecture on the harm of alcohol to the life of a child. The snake Sannin took a promise from his wife that she would not take a sip until the end of the pregnancy. He exhaled relaxedly. Only the habit of hiding alcohol remained with her. The constant changes in mood tormented everyone, but the third student got it the most. She would yell at him for some trifle, then climb up to him with kisses. Her emotional leaps defied logic. And when the baby's gender became known, the parents made a scandal about the name of their child. It turned out that they were expecting a girl, a little princess. What don't you like about the name Eri? Tsunade asked, looking at her husband with a withering gaze. Orochimaru, although a calm shinobi, could be irritated by the behavior of his pregnant wife. We need to calm down, this will end soon, Orochimaru whispered under his breath, but Tsunade clearly heard. You're sleeping on the couch today. Tsunade wanted to add something else, but stopped, smiling, and touched her stomach with her hand. Are you all right? Orochimaru asked his wife in a worried voice, and without waiting for an answer, he approached her. She's kicking, she answered her husband, breaking into a wide smile. You see, she's not happy that I'm going to be sleeping on the sofa, the scientist said, showing off, involuntarily smiling his most tender smile. And so, the long-awaited day came. November 25th, the birthday of the daughter of two Sannin. Tsunade asked Orochimaru to be there during the birth. Although she was the best medic in her village, her fear of blood had not gone away. The snake himself was not against it. During the birth, he held her hand, supporting his wife. 5 hours later, the entire hospital heard a baby cry. The tired blonde was very happy, here she was, her daughter. Welcome to the world, Kin, Orochimaru said, looking at the bundle in his wife's arms. Pale skin, a fluff of black hair, and golden eyes. Do you want to support? Tsunade asked. Orochimaru nodded uncertainly and picked up his daughter. She was so small, and defenseless, and cute. With her golden eyes she carefully studied the man in her arms, who was. A nurse approached the young father. Taking the child, she escorted him out of the room, arguing that the mother and child needed rest. A couple of days later, his beloved girls were discharged from the hospital. They came home. Orochimaru rocked his daughter in his arms, admiring her lovely face. From such a picture, his wife's heart fluttered. She looks a lot like you, like a daddy's girl, Tsunade said, looking at her daughter, whose gaze ran from one parent to the other. Yes, I hope she won't have habits like yours, the scientist said, smiling kindly. What kind of people are these? The medic hissed threateningly, reminding her of her husband. Well, for example, a passion for gambling or drinking alcohol, he grinned. I'm only sure that she will be very strong. Kin wrinkled her nose, which made her even cuter in the eyes of the Sannins. That's right, give her to me please, she's hungry, said the slug princess. Orochimaru carefully handed his daughter to her mother and went to the kitchen to make tea. 3 months had passed since the baby's birth. Kin behaved quite calmly, did not cry very often, usually tears were at night. Orochimaru calmed her down while her mother rested. The only problem was feeding. When it was time to take the baby, Kin would try to push the bottle out of her father's or mother's hands, but the baby would always lose and eat it. The most sleepless nights came for the two legendary Sannins. Kin started teething. Constant tears at night. Parents tried to reduce the pain, but it only went away for a couple of hours. then it all started again. Soon the teeth stopped cutting through and one could breathe a sigh of relief, but then new problems began, worse than teething. Half a year had passed since the baby was born, the problems were becoming less and less, but they still hadn't gone away. Kin was sitting in a high chair and watching her mother prepare porridge. The baby took a rattle and started shaking it in different directions, and after a couple of minutes it fell to the floor. Kin brought her eyebrows together. "Come on," Kin said, looking at her mother. "Okay, my little one," Tsunade said, smiling as she handed the toy to her daughter, but then she looked at her daughter in shock. "Wait. What did you say?" "Come on," the little girl repeated again, her small, plump hand reaching for the toy. "You said the first word. What a great girl you are," the great loser shouted, looking into her daughter's golden eyes. She herself was already starting to puff, because of the lack of a toy, but then she got what she wanted. The door slammed and the father entered the kitchen, approached his wife and child. His wife looked at her daughter and smiled stupidly. "Why are you looking at her like that?" Orochimaru asked her. Tsunade didn't answer and continued to look at her. Orochimaru also looked at the baby, trying to understand why his wife was smiling stupidly, but still didn't understand anything. He was puzzled by the behavior of his princess's mother. Kin looked from her mother to her father and tried to understand the reason for these stares. "Can you imagine?" she said the first words. Senju broke the silence, and now Orochimaru was looking at his daughter with a stupid smile. Today is the 25th of November, Kin's birthday, already 1 year. The Sanin's friends congratulated them and the baby in every possible way. Orochimaru sat opposite his daughter, watching her build a pyramid of multicolored cubes. The baby was tired of playing, so Kin tried to stand on her little legs. They began to shake, and her arms began to wave. Unable to keep her balance, she fell on the fluffy carpet. Trying not to cry from failure, she began to rub her eyes with her fists. The Sannin was touched by this picture. He approached his daughter. Kin noticed her father. Calming down, she looked into her father's eyes, and he into his daughter's eyes. Each saw only boundless tenderness in each other's eyes. The daughter of the Slug Princess was very stubborn. She was very disappointed with her fall. Therefore, she decided to try her luck again. This time the baby found support in the form of her father's hand. Holding on to her support, she stood up on her feet and took a couple of uncertain steps. Her father watched her with undisguised tenderness. He was proud of her achievements. "Kin, she is the only person who will know the full love of a Sannin." No one could have thought that the heart of a scientist, fixated only on learning new techniques, is capable of love. Having settled in, she let go of her father's hand, walked a bit, and decided to return to Orochimaru. Turning around, the child stomped towards her father. She looked at him with a smile that was so similar to her father's smile. Kin climbed onto her parent's lap and hugged him, letting out a happy squeak. The scientist hugged his daughter back and kissed her forehead. 4 years have passed. Kin Senju is already 5 years old. Every day she becomes more like her father, both in appearance and in character, but she also inherited some of her mother's traits: kind, sympathetic, sometimes hot-tempered. Habits were inherited from both parents, from Orochimaru the stretching of the letter S, and from Tsunade the passion for gambling. She always lost to either her father or mother. The girl was well-read and knew the entire academy program. She knew the techniques of cloning, replacement, silent killing. Several spontaneous ones. Her waist-length black hair was either loose or tied into a high ponytail. She wore a white kimono with blue trim that had 2 commas embroidered on it, the Senju clan crest embroidered on the back, a mesh shirt underneath, dark shorts, and blue shinobi boots. The yellow circle had been shining on the ground for a long time. Konoha was already in full swing. Kin walked towards the playground. At first, she didn't want to go because Papa had gone on a mission, but promised to complete it quickly, but Mama forced her to go for a walk, arguing that it was not the time for her to read the scrolls with her father's techniques. Young Senju approached the playground. Children her age and some older and younger, she noticed a blonde girl, in an orange suit and with her head down. Kin approached her carefully and smoothly. "Hi," Kin said, almost in front of the girl's face, which made her shudder. Raising her head, Kin saw blue eyes, where there were tears for a couple of seconds. "Why were you crying?" Kin asked. Hi, nothing, the girl answered, and wiped away the remaining tears. What is your name? I am Kin SS Senstu, 5 years old, young Senstu told about herself. Naruto Uzumaki, also 5 years old, let's be friends? Naruto asked, smiling from ear to ear. Kin shrugged. I don't see any reason to refuse, the scientist's daughter babbled cheerfully and smiled. Aren't you afraid of me? Uzumaki asked, her voice now quiet and her grip on the swing's chains tighter. Why should I be afraid of you? Kin looked at the girl with an uncomprehending look. It's just that everyone says that I'm a demon, Naruto answered her and pursed her lips. So what? My parents told me that I should have my own opinion. Kin raised her eyes to the sky. Uzumaki smiled again and hugged her new friend. The smaller copy of the snake Sannin was first taken aback by the actions of the newcomer, and then hugged her back. Why are you stretching the S? The Jinchuriki asked, tilting her head to the side, and walked away from her friend. I don't know, I got it from my father. Kin smiled, the smile of her parent. Uzumaki was not at all scared, on the contrary, she smiled at her too. Taking her friend by the hand, she dragged little Kin in an unknown direction. The evening came quickly. The girls played hide and seek, tag, simple tic-tac-toe, and many other games. Tired from the day, the friends approached the main street. Naruto had to go left, and Kin to the right. As the little girl approached the house, she remembered that she should have come much earlier. Fearing her mother's anger, she quietly entered the house. Not finding her mother on the first floor, she went to her room. But when she approached the door of the room, she was met by an angry slime princess. Where have you been? Tsunade hissed menacingly, raising an eyebrow. She was restless and worried. Sorry, I met a girl and went on a spree, her daughter answered guiltily, looking down at the floor. Tsunade sighed with displeasure, but silently walked into the kitchen, Kin following her. Having placed a plate of rice and meat in front of her daughter, Tsunade sat down opposite her. Beginning to eat. Who did you meet? Tsunade asked, looking at her daughter, who was eating faster than before. With Naruto Uzumaki. We played with her all day, and she didn't even stop, answered Kin. Tsunade choked on her name. Mom, are you alright? Kin approached her mother. Tsunade nodded, she hugged her daughter, and she hugged her back. I'm going to take a shower, Kin said, disentangling herself from her mother's embrace and heading towards the bathroom. Naruto Uzumaki means, Tsunade whispered into the void. Commentary to Chapter 1. I couldn't find Orochimaru's last name, so I decided that she took Tsunade's last name. Thank you for reading. Note, betas, I think I checked it, but if you find an error, remember, PB is open. A month has passed since Kin met Naruto. She met Choji Akimichi, a child with a dense physique, although this is normal for his clan. He is very kind and always eats chips. It seems that his pack has no bottom. Shikamaru Nara, he is very lazy and kind. His favorite pastime is sleeping and looking at the clouds. He always walks with a pineapple hairstyle. Another friend was Hinata Hyuga, a modest but kind girl. She has beautiful lavender eyes. She met Naruto about a year ago, when she saved her from the boys who bullied Hinata. The friends get along well with each other. Every day the children walk and play different games. By the end of the day, everyone was tired, except Naruto, who probably had a ton of strength. Kin carefully walked into the library, where her father's various scrolls and books were. Senju Jr. had read some of them, but it wasn't enough for her. So she decided to sneak into the storage while her parent was away. Walking to the farthest shelf, the little girl ran her eyes over the titles. Her gaze stopped on one of the scrolls. The girl was eager to read it. She reached for it, but suddenly someone coughed behind her. Kin shuddered. Turning, she looked at her father's face. His gaze did not bode well. His arms were crossed over his chest. She smiled guiltily. Orochimaru sighed and sat down to be on the same level with his daughter. You're still too young to read these scrolls, Orochimaru said in a calm voice, and Kin puffed out her cheeks at his words. Odo-san, please teach me how to summon your snakes, his daughter asked, and Orochimaru smiled. Okay, the Sannin agreed. Kin took her father's hand and pulled him into the backyard. The weather was fine outside, the sun was at its zenith, clouds were slowly floating across the sky. A light breeze was blowing, causing leaves to fall from the brown branches of the trees. Orochimaru took a summons from a medium-sized house and showed the seals. pig, dog, bird, monkey, sheep. The scientist put his hand on the ground, black uneven lines came from it. They were enveloped in white smoke, from which a small white snake appeared, with yellow-green eyes and a vertical pupil. Small snow-white fangs were also visible. You need to write your name in this scroll in blood, Orochimaru said, pointing to the open scroll. Kin's eyes widened, her hands began to tremble. The snake Sannin noticed this. Taking Kin's hands, he gently stroked his princess's wrists. Are you afraid of blood? Orochimaru asked, looking into his daughter's eyes, in which there was fear. She swallowed and nodded naked. Your mother is also afraid of blood, even though she is the best medic. We must overcome our fears. You can do it, I will be there, okay? Kin wrapped her arms around her father's neck, he also hugged her back. The mini copy of the snake Sannin bit her finger, and scarlet hot blood came out of it. There was fear in the girl's eyes again. She turned her gaze to her father. Overcome your fear, Orochimaru said. She quickly signed the contract. The blood stopped, and only a barely noticeable scratch remained. Well done, smiled Orochimaru, and patted her on the head. She closed her eyes and broke into a smile. Repeating her father's actions, she began to wait. She really wanted to know who she had summoned. When the smoke cleared, they saw a small snake. It was emerald in color. With black, bead-like eyes, starting from the head, stripes ran along the body, alternating black and green. The snake shifted its gaze from Orochimaru to Kin, who examined every inch of the body. Daddy, why is she so small? Asked an indignant Kin, not taking her eyes off the snake, who was also studying her. For now it's small, but over time it will grow and be bigger. One of the Umbu in a falcon mask and the standard uniform of this organization approached the house. Orochimaru-sama is calling you Hogake, the Umbu reported and disappeared. Daddy, why do you need to go to Hogake? Kin was perplexed, looking at her dad with a suspicious look. Orochimaru shrugged. I'll be there soon, Orochimaru informed the fighter and headed towards the house. The summoned animal and the little girl were left alone. What is my name? Kin began the dialogue. Midoriya, the snake hissed in response. And I'm Kin, let's be friends? Okay then, Midoriya answered somewhat reluctantly. She turned her gaze to the top of the girl's head and began to crawl towards Kin, and then along her. Having settled on Tsunade's daughter's head, she relaxed and closed her eyes. It's convenient here, Midoriya answered the silent question. Kin didn't understand anything and just smiled in response. The Sannin's daughter came into the kitchen where Tsunade was preparing dinner. Kachan, look. Kin said and walked up to her mother. She looked at the tops of her daughter's heads. Take that snake away, it could be dangerous. Tsunade ordered, afraid that it could be poisonous. No, I summoned her myself, Dad taught me, didn't you dear? Kin answered her. Senju glared at the snake, who was also looking at her. After playing a staring contest, the snake disappeared in a puff of smoke. Where did she go? The girl asked her mother. She returned to her world. Go wash your hands and sit down to eat. Tsunade waved off the question, and Kin went to the bathroom to wash her hands. The snake Sannin stood in the Hogake's office. His former teacher, Hiruzen Sarutobi, and one of the elders, Danzo, looked at him. You called, Hogake-sama? Orochimaru asked. Yes, you must leave the village, Danzo answered firmly, ignoring Hiruzen's existence. Why? The snake Sannin wondered. Because of your experiments, the Sandaime deigned to answer. I haven't done this for a long time, Orochimaru muttered through his teeth, crossing his arms over his chest. At one time, many people suffered because of them. If someone from other villages finds out what you did, then Konoha will have a bad reputation, and we don't need that. And also, we know very well that you have a wife and daughter. If you don't leave, then it will be worse for them, Danzo said. Orochimaru pursed his lips and his heart sank. Sorry, Orochimaru, but this is necessary. You must leave tonight. The look on the village head's face made it clear that this was not his idea. Okay, Orochimaru answered, trying hard to hide the trembling in his voice, and left the office. It will be better for the village, Shimura stated the fact. The sun was hiding behind the horizon, the birds were not heard, children were leaving the playgrounds, the sellers were closing their shops, the village was slowly falling asleep. The great snake Sannin, not noticing anyone around, walked towards the house. Orochimaru's POV. What disgusting things Danzo and Hokage are, blackmailing me with my family. Bastards. Choke on your authority. Why did I even get involved with these experiments? Why, when everything is going well in my life, is something bound to happen that will ruin everything? I won't be able to see Tsunade, my little one, anymore. And if I don't leave, I can't imagine what they'll do to them. I'll have to leave anyway, for the sake of my beloved girls. End of Orochimaru's POV. Orochimaru sighed heavily, looking up at the dark night sky. He tried to find an answer to the question, why is our life so unfair? A couple of minutes later, he came home. The light was on in the living room, but on the second floor, where Kin's bedroom was, the light was out. Most likely she was already asleep. Tsunade came out to him, hugging her husband. She tried to guess what was tormenting him. I need to leave the village, Orochimaru chuckled bitterly, hugging his wife to himself. Tsunade buried her face in her beloved's chest. For how long? The slug princess whispered quietly. Always, Orochimaru answered. Tsunade pulled back a little and looked into her husband's eyes. Why? Tsunade asked, confusion in her eyes. Danzo and the third ordered, Orochimaru answered, looking at the floor. You couldn't refuse? Tsunade said, almost screaming, standing in front of her husband and burning him with her gaze. I could have, but I didn't want you and our daughter to suffer, Orochimaru hissed back at her. What do you mean? Tsunade asked, calming down. They blackmailed me with you, and I don't want you to suffer because of me. Forgive me, the snake Sannin admitted. Tsunade hugged her husband, tears streaming from her eyes. She constantly loses people she loves. Parents, grandparents, Nawaki, and now Orochimaru is forced to leave her. The only thing that makes her happy is that her daughter is still with her. Why is all this happening to me? Why should I be the one to be separated from the people I love? Why? Tsunade didn't understand why this was happening to her. Tears were running down the blonde's cheeks while Orochimaru held her close and stroked her back. Everything will be fine, I will never leave your life and we have a wonderful daughter. He tried to calm her down, but then continued, I will leave tonight. It's hard to make Orochimaru feel anything, his face doesn't show any emotions. The Sannin's heart has always beat calmly, but with the appearance of two very dear people in his life. When Tsunade gave birth, when his beloved girls were discharged, when Kin was able to say her first word, when she took her first step, and many other wonderful moments, made Orochimaru himself cry. The Sannin carefully entered his daughter's room. She was sleeping peacefully on the bed, half of the blanket had slipped onto the floor. He smiled at this. And slowly approached the bed, straightening everything. He sat on his knees, looking at his daughter's face. Her disheveled hair was all over the pillow. The girl was smiling in her sleep. This was the last time Orochimaru saw this smile, which was so similar to his. He would miss her very much. In that second, all the moments of their family life flashed before his eyes. He kissed her on the forehead, sitting like that for a couple more minutes. The scientist looked at her for the last time, and left the room. Tsunade was sitting in the kitchen, crying. Orochimaru came up behind her and put his arm around her shoulders. Thank you, Orochimaru said in Tsunade's ear and disappeared. You too, Tsunade said into the silence, and even more hot tears rained down on the dining table. The sun woke up, the clock showed 9 o'clock in the morning. Kin went to her parents' room in a good mood to wake them up. Surprised that her father was not in the room, she decided that he had gone on a mission. Then, she went to her mother and began to slowly wake her up. A couple of minutes later, Senju opened her eyes and smiled bitterly at her daughter. Kin climbed onto the bed and lay down next to her mother. Mom, where's Dad? Kin asked, looking at the ceiling. The slime princess rubbed her eyes, which were red from crying. Having calmed down, the blonde said. Listen, she sat down on the bed. Kin sat next to her. The little girl was wary, it was all too suspicious. Your father is good, please promise that you won't hate him. Receiving a nod in response, she continued. He became a missing Nin. Nuke Nin? But why? Kin clutched the blanket, hot and hurt tears flowed down the girl's cheeks. Tsunade hugged her daughter, stroking her hair. The woman answered. When you get older, I'll tell you. The main thing is that you should know that Papa always loved and will love. Please, don't hate him. Okay, Kin said and hugged her mother tighter. Kin's POV. Why did Dad leave? Everything was so good. Why did he become a missing mean? Please, come back to Mom and me. Don't leave us, don't abandon us. End of Keen's POV. She sat in her room all day and cried a sea of tears. Tsunade saw her daughter's condition. Her mother tried to hold her with all her might, but it was going pretty badly. Orochimaru left the village forever, became a criminal, but none of that matters. The main thing for him is that the elders and Hokage will not touch his family, and all the rest are just trifles or injustices of fate. A week had passed since the snake Sannin left Konoha. Kin spent those 7 days at home, isolating herself from society. The Hokage and elders recognized Orochimaru as a missing nin, and Tsunade returned to missions. After all, money doesn't grow on trees. Kin sat in her room all week, and only went out to shower and eat. Tsunade said that everything would be fine, and her father loved her. The daughter was grateful to her parent. But when she left the room, Kin began to cry, not understanding how her family deserved all this hardship. The little snake Midoriya, who was summoned by Kin, was next to the girl all this time. Perhaps snakes are slimy and unpredictable, and can poison a person with their venom at any moment. But they can also feel emotions. On the 10th day of self-isolation, young Senju decided to get some fresh air. The miniature copy of the snake Sannin walked along the streets of Konoha, trying to distract himself from bad thoughts for at least a little while, but to be honest, it was not going well. Walking along familiar streets, her mind filled with images of walks with her parents, Kin couldn't hold back her tears. The little girl walked forward until she bumped into someone's chest and fell. Sorry, Kin apologized in a colorless voice, getting to her feet. In front of her stood a young man. He looked older than her, onyx eyes, hair gathered in a low ponytail at the back of his head. Clothes, dark colors, standard shinobi shoes. Dark stripes diverge under his eyes, from his eyebrows to his cheeks, which is extremely unusual. It's okay, did you cry? The stranger asked. Kin nodded weakly, wiping away her tears with her hand. My name is Itachi Uchiha, and yours? The Uchiha asked. Kin Senju, Kin answered him dryly, looking into the boy's eyes. In her opinion, they were very beautiful. I see, maybe you can tell me what happened? Itachi tried to start a conversation, Kin thought, weighing all the pros and cons. She decided to open up to this lovely Uchiha. Okay, Senju took a deep breath. She knew the conversation would be long. Without saying a word, they wandered towards the nearest park, so as not to stand in the middle of the road. The Senju and Uchiha clans were walking through the park. She felt better after sharing her worries with someone, although she knew it was reckless to trust the first person she met. The heir of the Uchiha clan felt sincerely sorry for his new acquaintance. He was present during the conversation between Danzo and Orochimaru. I think everything will be fine, not right away, but it will be fine. Itachi tried to support the girl. He lightly hugged her, not expecting any response, but Kin surprised him. Thank you, Senju thanked him and sobbed. Let's go for a walk. Itachi suggested. Kin nodded, and they continued their walk. Kin and Itachi walked for more than 2 hours, during which time she smiled a lot. And she felt very good for the first time in 10 days. While Kin was out with Itachi, Tsunade was at home, doing her usual household chores. Besides her, there was another girl in the house, Tsunade's assistant, Shizune. Shizune is a young, slender girl, slightly taller than Tsunade. She has fair skin, short, dark brown straight hair to shoulder level with bangs, and black eyes. She wears a dark blue kimono with white edges and a pink belt, under which she wears a mesh tank top, and on her feet she wears black open shoes. Tsunade has been complaining to her assistant about Danzo and Hogake for an hour now. She needed to talk it out. Shizune understands this and just listens calmly, without interrupting, sometimes nodding along. After a 2-hour conversation, the first granddaughter felt better. Tsunade-sama, will Kin go to the Shinobi Academy? Shizune asked. Yes, in 2 years, but where is she wandering? Tsunade asked and looked up at the ceiling. Shizune turned her head, looking out the window. She noticed 2 figures approaching the house. One was not tall, judging by her build. It was a girl. The other figure was taller than the girl, apparently a young man. Shizune realized that the first figure was her mentor's daughter. Tsunade-sama, isn't it too early for your daughter to go out with boys? the girl asked, turning her gaze to her granddaughter Mito. Tsunade was stunned, looking at her student skeptically. She turned her gaze to the window, narrowing her eyes. She answered, "It's still early." After a minute of waiting, the front door slammed and Kin entered the living room, greeting her mother and Shizune. "Goodbye, Tsunade-sama," and Kin. Shizune said goodbye and followed her to the door. Tsunade also followed her friend to see her out. "Goodbye," Kin shouted. A couple of minutes later she returned to the living room and sat down next to her daughter. "Where did you go for a walk?" Tsunade started the dialogue. Kin started talking about where they went for a walk, what they saw, etc. "And which boy were you walking with?" Tsunade suddenly asked her daughter. "How do you know?" Kin also asked. "I saw you, so with whom?" The slime princess did not back down with her questions. "I was walking." Itachi Uchiha, Orochimaru's daughter, gave in. The elder Senju chuckled. "That's how it is." "I wanted to ask you if you want to learn area ninjutsu?" Tsunade suggested. She wanted to pass on the knowledge of medicine to her daughter, Kin thought. Yes, the daughter answered and hugged her mother. The Sanin's daughter's goal was to surpass her parents, so she was only too happy to learn everything her mother knew. A couple of days passed since Kin and Itachi's alley. After a frank conversation with Uchiha, she almost stopped crying, spent more time with friends. Tsunade wanted to start training her daughter, but performing medical jutsu requires excellent control. Kin was doing well because her chakra volume was not that large. First, Tsunade taught her to expand the chakra channels. This is necessary so that the chakra reserves become larger. For a good result, you need to sit in one place for hours and meditate. To be honest, it's boring. Next, it was necessary to learn to walk vertically. Kin started with a tree. To move on different planes, it is necessary to concentrate chakra in the foot. The main thing is not to overdo it, because if you pour more than necessary, the tree can break. And it will be possible to take only a couple of steps, maybe less. So it is necessary to find a golden mean in this matter. You can also teach walking horizontally. At first glance, it is easy, walking horizontally, but in fact, it is much more difficult than it seems. One example is walking on water. The principle is the same, only more chakras are spent. This is how Tsunade explained it to her daughter when she was learning to walk vertically and horizontally. When studying medical techniques, you not only need to have good chakra control, but also be well versed in the composition of poisons, how to prepare antidotes, what herbs have healing properties. Human organs. So Kin spent almost the entire night reading books about herbs and the structure of a person. Her mother had to help with poisons. Today Tsunade Senju went on a mission and left her daughter alone. Maybe it was reckless to leave a 6-year-old daughter alone at home, but Kin was a smart girl. So the woman wasn't afraid that she would do something. After training in chakra control, she was walking through the streets of the Hidden Leaf village. Kin noticed Itachi's figure, and someone else was walking next to him. "Hello," Itachi greeted as they came closer to each other. "Hello," Kin said as well. "Who is Ni-san?" the stranger asked, looking at the little girl. Next to Itachi stood a boy, slightly taller than Kin, pale skin, dark eyes, and the same color hair. Hairstyle similar to the fillet of a duck. Dark clothes. Although this is normal for representatives of the Uchiha clan, they like dark colors. "Kin, this is my Otudo, Sasuke Uchiha, Sasuke, and this is Kin Senju, my friend," Itachi introduced them. "Nice to meet you, Shining One," the little one hissed, drawing out the S in her favorite manner. "Okay, I have to go, bye, see you later," Kin said goodbye and walked around them like a snake, continuing on the road of her life. "Why does she stretch the S?" Sasuke asked, looking towards the girl. Kin said that she got this habit from her father, the elder answered. A little later, the Uchiha brothers also went home. The sun was shining brightly, delighting the inhabitants of the earth with its rays. The weather was wonderful, although, this is not surprising, in Lista the weather is always great, only on rare days it rained or was cloudy. The granddaughter of the first Hokage, Tsunade Senju, was walking along the streets of Konoha. Today she returned from a mission and was heading towards the Hokage residence to submit a report. After submitting her report, she headed home, wanting to rest and relax. Senju came home and immediately smelled something burning. She ran to the kitchen. There, the woman saw her daughter trying to cook something. In the end, of course, she managed to fry something, and fry it very well. Kin turned to her mother, who was leaning against the door frame, and laughed at what she saw. Kin was not very happy with the situation. "What are you thinking? I left you some food in the fridge, you just had to warm it up," Tsunade said, trying not to laugh. Simply I decided to cook something, and this happened," Kin answered, with a hint of sadness in her voice. Tsunade patted her daughter on the head and hugged her. "Kachan, I missed you," Kin whispered, burying her nose in her parent's shoulder. "Me too, sunshine. I've learned to walk on surfaces, but only on wood for now," Kin delighted her. "What a good girl," Tsunade praised her child, starting to stroke her head. "Now, will you teach me area ninjutsu? I already have good chakra control, please," Kin asked, looking into her mother's eyes. "Okay, fine. Let's just do it a little later." Mom agreed. The snake Sanin's daughter nodded. "And you go clean the kitchen for now," Senju the elder ordered. Kin looked at the stove, where there was a terrible mess, and at the poor frying pan, where there was food, although it was hard to call it food, more like black coals. After a couple of minutes of sad oohs and ahs, she began cleaning. The sun was slowly setting behind the horizon, the clouds were turning pink, and the sky was also giving off some orange and burgundy color. The daughter of the Sannin and the granddaughter of Hogake were in the backyard. Kin had been trying to get the fish to move for an hour, but alas, it was not working. Tsunade always believed, and will continue to believe in her daughter. Another 30 minutes passed. Kin was still trying to get that stupid fish to move. Tsunade, however, slowly but surely began to fall asleep. It worked. Her daughter's scream brought her out of her sleep. She went up to her and saw the fish moving. "Well done, let's call it a day," Tsunade suggested. Kin nodded in agreement and they went home. Somewhere outside of Konoha, and perhaps outside of the Land of Fire, no one knows the exact location. In a dense, barely passable forest, there is a small cave at first glance, but this is not really the case. In this cave was one of the shelters of the Snake Sannin of Konoha. They are located not only on the territory of the Land of Fire, but also on the territory of other countries. Where did he get them from? You ask, and I will answer you. When the Sannin was not yet married, and Tsunade did not carry his child under her heart, he planned to leave the village. Because there was a chance of his detention, since the experiments conducted by the scientist were terrible. The cave from the outside resembled something damp, with unpleasant places, even creepy places. In the corners, spiders constantly weave their white and sticky webs and eat their victims on them. If you know how to get to Orochimaru's lair, the cave will not seem so disgusting to you. Long corridors, constant turns, if you get lost, you will not be able to get out. His shelter is a real labyrinth, dark purple and smooth stones were the floor, the light was dim, but even so it was perfectly visible, in the opinion of Orochimaru himself, as well as a huge number of rooms. The Snake Sannin sat and worked on his experiments. Yes, he stopped them when his daughter was born. But now, the renegade can finish what he abandoned. Orochimaru had his own summons, snakes, he knew them all. With their help, he could find out information about his daughter and wife. It was good that Kin also signed a contract with snakes, and summoned them every day. Midoriya, his daughter's first summoned snake, told him about his girls' lives every day. Orochimaru used a summoning technique, pouring a tiny amount of chakra into it, a cloud of smoke formed, and an emerald snake with black, beady eyes appeared in front of him again. Today she studied medical techniques. Tsunade Sama taught her that. The snake hissed. Orochimaru chuckled. So that's it. What are her successes? The Sannin asked. She was able to revive the fish. Midoriya hissed again. That's it? Snake nodded and disappeared into her world, where there are many like her. Orochimaru sighed tiredly. He was proud of his daughter and was glad that everything was getting better for them. Now, Orochimaru needs to make a plan for living for the next 5 years. His goal was to take revenge on Konoha, not all of it, but 2 personalities, and what's the best way to do it? That's right. Create your own village, sign a peace treaty with some hidden village, and attack it during any Chunin exam. The plan is crazy, but the Sannin is also crazy, so he should succeed. Commentary on Chapter 4. Older brother. Younger brother. equals 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 chapter 5 equals 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 equals. 2 years passed. The daughter of the Sannin trained in medical techniques, taijutsu, various elemental techniques, throwing kunai and shuriken. She also read a lot about the world of shinobi, fiction, and sometimes her father's scrolls. Kin did not stop communicating with Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga, Itachi Uchiha, and Sasuke Uchiha. Senju Jr. introduced Uchiha to Uzumaki, and they did not become friends very well. At their first meeting, both declared themselves eternal rivals. Spring is a beautiful time of year. Nature is gradually starting to wake up after 3 months of deep sleep, flowers are starting to open their buds, and the trees are swelling their buds, the sun is starting to warm the earth. Today, early April, a new school year is starting at the Shinobi Academy. This year there are a lot of newcomers. Kin was squeezing her mother's hand, she was scared. Is everything okay? Tsunade asked. Kin nodded uncertainly. After all, it was her first day at the academy and she was very worried. Don't worry, everything will be fine, you can invite Naruto to visit after school, Tsunade suggested and put her arm around her daughter's shoulders. Kin smiled. Fine. The third Hokage came up to the stage, several Jonin rank shinobi stood next to him. Tsunade clenched her teeth, you can't imagine how much she wanted to punch her teacher. The third began to talk about the will of fire, what shinobi should be like, what they should do, who to listen to, and so on. After finishing his inspirational speech, he stepped aside, and the headmaster of the school came out in his place. A tall man with brown eyes, he was dressed in the standard Chunin uniform. You will be assigned to classes A, B, and C, the principal announced, reading out the class lists. Kin and her friends were assigned to the same class, which made her happy. After being assigned, the children, under the guidance of their class teachers, went to their classes. Entering the classroom, the young students of the academy dispersed to their favorite places. Senju sat next to Uchiha, and Uzumaki next to Senju because the desk was designed for 3 people. Itachi's younger brother chuckled. And Uzumaki turned a displeased look to Uchiha. Almost all the girls looked angrily at Kin and Naruto. Why? Because Uchiha just walked into the classroom and all the girls immediately fell in love with him. Of course, except for Hinata, Naruto, and Kin. Many of the female representatives wanted to sit with their idol, whom they saw 5 minutes ago, but apparently it was not meant to be. The class teacher of Orochimaru's daughter turned out to be a young man, with slightly dark skin, dark eyes, chestnut hair, gathered in a ponytail at the back of his head. He had a Konoha forehead protector tied around his forehead, a scar running across the bridge of his nose, and he was wearing the standard Chunin rank shinobi uniform. Attention, class. I am Iruka-sensei, I am your homeroom teacher for the next 4 years. Now each of you must introduce yourself, tell what you like, what you don't like, your goal, your dream, Iruka said with a smile, looking at his charges. Only Naruto was honored with a cold look, because she is a monster, a demon. Kin and Sasuke were outraged by what she did to him, but preferred to remain silent. Everyone started talking about themselves. After a couple of minutes, it was Uzumaki, Senju, and Uchiha's turn. Naruto Uzumaki, I love ramen, I don't like it when it's brewed, my dream is to become the coolest Hokage, Databeo. She shouted. Kin Senju, I like and dislike many things, the goal is to come from my parents, the daughter of the slime princess hissed. Sasuke Uchiha, I love family and tomatoes, I don't like many things, the goal is to become stronger than my older brother. After his story, the eyes of almost all the girls in their class took the shape of hearts. Well, classes will start tomorrow, at 9 o'clock in the morning, Iruka announced to everyone. Goodbye, guys, he said goodbye to the children, and everyone began to disperse. The children came out into the academy courtyard, the parents congratulated their children, Kin approached her mother and hugged her. Congratulations, Tsunade smiled. TT thank you, I'll call Naruto, okay? Kin asked. Senju nodded. The mini copy of the snake Sannin looked for her friend with her eyes, and found her. The girl was sitting on the swing, watching the children and their parents. Naruto! Kin shouted. Uzumaki raised her head and smiled like 32 is not the limit. It was hard for Naruto to watch how children go to their parents, hug them, share their impressions of school. After all, she has not had them since birth, she does not know parental love, does not know what daddy's praise is, mommy's scolding. She would really like to know, who are her parents? Why did they leave her? Come to our GUP? Senzu asked, approaching her best friend. Will your mother be okay with it? Uzumaki asked. Kin shook her head. She took the blonde by the hand and dragged her to her mother. Senju and Uzumaki had a good evening. Tsunade knew very well about Naruto's situation. Uzumaki was the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed demon fox. Because of this, the villagers despised her, hated her, mocked her and bullied her, poor child. The woman was glad that her daughter had her own opinion, not taking into account the opinions of others. Evening came, it was only 9 o'clock. Uzumaki was about to leave, but Tsunade stopped her. It might be dangerous in the evening, maybe you should stay? Senju suggested. Is it possible? The girl asked. Certainly. Okay then, Databeo. Naruto said and smiled. Tsunade laid out a futon in Kin's room, and after dinner the girls went to bed. A year passed. Senju Jr. was a genius, she quickly remembered everything, understood. Now, she shared first place with Sasuke in the ranking of the best students of the class. Kin was quite bored sitting in class, because she had read about it in books a long time ago. Their class was divided into people who were in the fan club of Sasuke Uchiha and haters of Sasuke Uchiha, fun. Fangirls were always hanging around their desk. Kin often got mad about this, but did not show it. From the entire fan club, one annoying person stood out, Sakura Haruno. A clownless girl with pink hair, a large forehead and green eyes. At first, Kin was neutral towards her, until one day Sakura pissed her off. Flashback. It was a normal day, breakfast, lessons, and break. Sasuke and Naruto were arguing about something. It had become a habit for them. Kin was sitting between them and didn't understand what they were arguing about again. Ramen, better than your tomatoes. Naruto exclaimed, looking at Sasuke. He was always calm and cold to almost everyone, but it turned out that even he could be pissed off. Firstly, he hated his fan club to death, which followed him. Secondly, Naruto, his eternal rival and friend. Soon Sakura came up to their desk. Uzumaki and Uchiha still had not resolved their argument. Having put on perfume, they demonstratively turned away from each other, so cute and strange. The mini copy of the scientist only shrugged. Kin, your parents are Sanins, right? Sakura asked standing in front of their desk. Kin nodded and waited to see what would happen next. Your father is a missing nin, right? Without waiting for an answer, she continued. So you are the same, you will betray in an instant, right? Sakura asked, looking at the ceiling with a thoughtful look. Kin's heart sank, it still hurt, she remembered that day, and cried into her pillow in the evenings when her mother was on a mission. You don't know anything about him or me, so think before you open your mouth, Kin replied in a cold tone. Sakura's hands clenched until her knuckles turned white as she looked from the ceiling to Kin. Haruno wanted to answer. But the bell rang. She could only go to her seat. Naruto, seeing her friend's condition, took her hands. Everything okay? She asked Kin in a whisper, because the lesson had already started. Senju nodded and smiled. Sasuke was also worried about his friend. He saw that this smile was fake, and there was pain behind it. End of flashback. That day, the daughter of the Snake Sannin began to have a negative attitude towards Sakura. The first year at the academy was boring, just theory. True, she heard that in the second year of study they should add light techniques, such as replacement technique, illusory clones technique. And already in the third year of study there will be sparring between students. And finally, exams on the topics covered. Commentary on Chapter 5. Sorry for such a short chapter. Chapter 6 Itachi Uchiha is a genius of the Uchiha clan, the eldest son of the head of the Fugaku clan, and captain of the Umbu. Young clanless kunoichi are constantly hanging on him, and countless tears have been shed because of him. Some said that he was just a heartless creature who loved to break women's hearts. Of course, they said this behind the heir's back, because to his face, to be afraid, but the Uchiha hears everything. He hid his emotions, wearing a mask of indifference to all living things since childhood, in order to be considered a worthy representative of the great clan. He had been friends with Kin Senju, his girlfriend, for many years. The children met when she was a baby of about 4 years old, and he was 7. Itachi felt sorry for the girl who lost her father at such an early age. Then they became friends. Not long ago, he began to experience some incomprehensible feelings for his little friend. They were similar to those he experienced for his family. But he understood that this was not it. After all, the feelings for this little girl were more reverent. They burned him from the inside, threatening to break out. After thinking about it, he made a verdict: Uchiha Itachi fell in love. The daughter of the Sannin was his walking ideal. Her jet black hair, which was so soft, he thought that you could stroke and play with it forever. The color of her eyes, like pure gold. Kin was a skinny girl, many thought that she was very weak. But later they realized that considering this girl weak was a very big mistake. She was a small copy of her father. What is her smile worth? For Itachi she was the cutest, the smallest, the most beautiful, the most adorable. The young Uchiha could talk about her forever. He won't be able to hide his feelings for her for long. Itachi is 100% sure of that. He decided that when Kin grows up, in about 3 or 4 years, he will definitely confess to her. And now all he can do is wait. Sitting on her bed in the lotus position and clutching a pillow with her hands, young Senju tried to understand why her heart began to speed up and her palms began to sweat when she saw one particular person. Having failed to find an answer to her question, the little girl decided to ask her mother. The slug princess's daughter came down to the first floor and sat down on the sofa next to Tsunade, who was reading something. "Kachan, can I ask you something?" Kin asked thoughtfully, looking at her mother. The parent, seeing her daughter's state, closed the book. "Of course," Tsunade answered her, smiling. "Why does your heart beat so hard when you see a person?" The Sannin grinned at her words and broke into a satisfied smile. "Mom? You're in love," Tsunade pronounced. "Fell in love?" The daughter repeated after her slowly. "I fell in love with my FF friend," Kin added in her thoughts. Senju chatted with her mother for a little while longer and then went to her room. She tried to fully comprehend what her mother had said. Kin's POV. What's this? Does that mean I fell in love with my best friend, Itachi? What will happen if I confess? Will he stop being friends with me, or will he start to feel a sense of dislike towards me? No, I'd rather not tell him anything. End of Kin's POV. Graduation from the Shinobi Academy. Today there should be an exam in 3 parts. First, written exam. Second, throwing shurikens and kunai. And third part, demonstration of some technique from the academy. Everyone was very nervous and worried that day. Soon children, and possibly future shinobi, were led into the auditorium. The first stage began. Everyone was seated so that no one could copy anything. Passing score is 60 points, time to complete is 1 hour. Good luck to everyone. And now, let's get started, the teacher commanded, and everyone began to complete it. An hour later, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They passed, they didn't fail. And now it's a break, a long-awaited rest. After the break, the second stage began. To pass the next exam, you need to get through at least 7 times out of 10. Everyone waited for their turn with bated breath. Irika was genuinely surprised that Naruto was able to pass these 2 stages, because usually she was the last one both in practice and in theory. Their sensei hated the blonde with all his heart. He didn't want her to become a shinobi. She's a demon, not a ninja, he thought. The third stage came. Naruto was very worried before it. And Kin noticed this. The little girl came up to her friend, putting her hand on her shoulder. Senju asked, "What's wrong?" "I haven't mastered the illusion clone technique, so if I come across them, I'll just fail." Uzumaki replied. Senju hugged her. "You can do it." She believed in her friend and would always believe in her. "Naruto Uzumaki," Irika announced, frowning as he watched her enter the office. 10 minutes later the door opened again and Naruto ran out in tears. The girl pushed everyone aside and ran away from the academy. Kin wanted to run after her, but Sasuke stopped her. "She needs to be alone," he said, frowning. She nodded. The little girl was very worried about Naruto, and wanted to find her. So she persuaded her friend to go after her. Having walked around the entire village, the children decided to stop searching. It was already evening, and their parents would be worried. After all, the Hokage and the elders would not allow her to disappear. Having said goodbye, the future shinobi went home. Kin was happy, but at the same time she felt very bad. Her first friend had failed that damn test, and now she was in an unknown place. On the other hand, Kin had become a full-fledged shinobi, which she was extremely happy about. Her mother congratulated her, rejoicing together. The daughter of the snake Sannin went to bed. Today there will be distribution into teams. It's quite exciting, to be honest. Kin was walking to the academy, and met Naruto. Well, how did she meet him? The Jinchuriki threw herself at the scientist's daughter. I passed the exam, Dadabo. Naruto shouted and hugged her friend tightly. But how? Senju was taken aback. Naruto told how it all happened, and Kin was surprised. A few minutes later, they entered the classroom. As usual, there were a bunch of girls from the Sasuke-kun fan club milling around their desk. Kin and Naruto somehow squeezed through and sat down in their seats. How dare you sit next to Sasuke-kun? Haruno shouted. And what are you doing here anyway? You failed the exam. Sakura added, pointing her finger at the blonde. I passed the exam, Uzumaki replied. The blue-eyed girl pointed to the forehead protector tied around her forehead. Everyone was in slight shock as they recovered from this news. Naruto decided to find out, what is it about this brunette with the Sharina that attracts them? Dobe, Uchiha hissed, looking into the sea-colored eyes. Itachi's younger brother admitted to himself that his rival's eyes were truly beautiful. Team, tell me. What did they see in you? The blonde asked him. Looking at the face of her eternal rival. He was cute, but not handsome, in her opinion. Suddenly, someone pushed her from behind, and even the Sasuke Uchiha fan club, or, as Sasuke himself calls them, the chickens, fell silent. Excuse me, the boy who pushed the girl drew attention to himself, but everyone ignored him. After all, watching two enemies kiss is much more interesting. Having separated from each other, the children's cheeks turned red. Sasuke turned away. I was supposed to kiss Sasuke-kun. Sakura shouted, and was about to hit Naruto on the head. But she sat down next to Kin, trying to catch her breath. The Jinchuriki turned white and then red, while the daughter of the snake Sannin smirked. Forehead, I should have kissed him. The blonde shouted back, her name was Ino Yamanaka, Haim of the Yamanaka clan. Their argument only stopped when Irika, the sensei, entered the classroom. Sorry for being late. Children, today you will become real shinobi, a long and difficult path awaits you. Now, the teams will be distributed. So, team number 1, Yumino began to announce the list of teams. Team number 7, Uchiha Sasuke, Naruto Uzumaki and Kin Senju, mentor Kakashi Hatake. It was our hero's turn. The teacher was about to continue, when Sakura brazenly interrupted him, getting up from her desk. Why are there 2 girls on the team? There can only be one. Haruno was perplexed. Irika sighed tiredly. Because there should be 2 security officers and 1 medic on the team. Usually guys become security officers and girls become medics. But Naruto can't be a medic, she's a natural-born security officer. And if you, Sakura, are not happy with something, then I ask you to go to the director. Irika continued announcing the team lineups without receiving an answer. Sasuke's POV. Naruto has such beautiful eyes, like the endless sky. I want to look into them forever. Stop. This is not the time to think about. Sasuke, pull yourself together. You are an Uchiha. I am on a team with 2 girls. Fortunately, they do not chase me and do not shout my name with the prefix kun, because it is annoying. BRR. End of Sasuke's POV. Naruto POV. Sakura pisses me off so much, she always yells and wants to hit me on the head for something. And that kiss with Sasuke team, it was probably nice. Aish, okay. On a team with Sasuke team and Kin, hooray, data boy. On a team with my best friend and my best friend, who became my eternal rival. End of Naruto POV. Kin's POV. Well, this is the beginning of a long relationship between Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki. They really suit each other. I'm on the same team with them and mentor Kakashi Hatake, he's quite a strong jonin. End of Kin's POV. Team number 7 has been waiting for their coach for an hour. The other teams had long since left, and they were waiting for their coach. I suggest we set a trap for him, Uzumaki suggested. He's an experienced jonin. I don't think he'll fall for a trap, Kin said. But her friend clearly didn't hear her, so she went to look for things for the trap. Senju and Uchiha decided to participate anyway. After all, they were bored. Sasuke had devised a trap for Sensei, and Naruto and Kin had carried it out. The idea was that when their teacher entered the classroom, rags with chalk would fall on his head. After waiting a little longer, a man in a jonin uniform entered the classroom. White hair that didn't know what gravity was, a mask that covered half of his face, and a green book in his hands. Who did this? He asked. Kakashi's POV. The Hokage gave me a team of genin, again. Okay, they won't pass the teamwork test, and I'll take on a mission for 6 months again. I was walking to the auditorium where my genins were supposed to be. They have been waiting for me for 2 hours, well done. They set a trap for me, okay, I'll fall for it. I entered the office and rags with chalk fell on my head. Who did this? I asked. Most likely they will frame Naruto. End of Kakashi's POV. The boys let out a chuckle, with Naruto laughing the loudest. When Uzumaki calmed down, they high-fived each other. Who did this? Kakashi asked again. I came up with a plan, and they found materials for a trap. Sasuke answered the question. Okay, I don't like you, let's go to the roof, Kakashi said and disappeared. A few minutes later, the genin were sitting on the roof. Kakashi preferred a vertical position, so he was now leaning against the railing. First, introduce yourself, what you like and don't like, your goal or dream, Hatake began, looking at the clouds. You start, he added, and pointed at the blonde. Naruto Uzumaki, genin of Konoha. I love ramen and friends. I don't like when ramen is brewing. My dream is to become Hokage, Dadaboyo. Naruto introduced himself. Now you, he pointed with his gaze at the only guy on the team. Sasuke Uchiha is a genin. I love tomatoes and family. I don't like many things. The goal is to become stronger than my older brother. Sasuke, a true Uchiha, said emotionlessly. Kin SS Senju, I like and dislike many things. The goal is to surpass my parents. Shodai's great-granddaughter hissed like a snake. Okay, tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning be at the training ground 7. Tomorrow will be the first training session, no lateness, and also no food, said Kakashi and disappeared again. Kakashi's POV. Team 7, 2 kunoichi and 1 boy, this is the first time. They all want to get stronger, weird. Naruto Uzumaki, she has a large reserve of chakra, if she learns how to use it correctly, she will be strong. Plus, she has good regeneration thanks to the nine-tailed. Sasuke Uchiha currently does not have Sharingan. If he awakens, he will be very dangerous in battle. Kin Senju is the daughter of 2 Sannin, most likely has a good command of medical techniques, a half-breed of the Senju clan, and a fairly large reserve of chakra compared to other genin. Quite an unusual team, 2 of the great clans of Konoha, and also a representative of the Uzumaki clan. If they train well, they can become quite strong. But to do so, they must pass my exam, and it is difficult. With these thoughts, Kakashi ended his day. Chapter 7 The sun slowly rises into the sky. Everyone has only 4 o'clock on their watch. Everyone is asleep, but only Team 7 stood on the training ground and waited for their sensei. Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki stood sleepy and hungry. The first hour passed and Kakashi was still not there. They sat down under a tree. The children had not slept enough, so in an attempt to stay awake, they decided to talk. Sasuke sat in the middle, and his girlfriends on the sides. The young shinobi talked about different things, from the type of ramen to any character in the new movie. Naruto was bored, of course. At first she furiously proved to her teammates that this or that type of instant noodles was better, but by the end she was tired, so her head soon fell on Sasuke's shoulder. The others, noticing this, switched to whispers. After another 30 minutes had passed, Senja laid her head on Sasuke's shoulder. The Uchiha was embarrassed by the behavior of his girlfriends. If before this his cheeks were only pale pink, then after Naruto hugged him across the torso in his sleep, pressing herself against him, his face acquired a bright red tint. The girls woke up half an hour later. Only Uzumaki was ahead of Kin by a few minutes. Opening her eyes, the Jinchuriki noticed that she was hugging her eternal rival. Involuntarily widening her eyes from shock, she jumped away from the boy as if scalded. Orochimaru's daughter woke up quickly, stretching. She began to watch the blonde trying to hide the blush from her dark cheeks. Having brought themselves to order, the graduates of the academy began to wait for their mentor, and now, after 6 hours of waiting, Kakashi-sensei deigned to appear. "Kakashi-sensei, where have you been?" Naruto asked, getting up from the ground. "Sorry for the wait, a black cat crossed my path, I had to go around it," the copyist made an excuse. The boy stood in front of Kakashi, preparing for the test. "Your task, take the bells from me, you have an hour to do this. Keep in mind that if you fail, you will be sent back to the academy." Hatake explained to them, releasing an ominous key. Naruto bit her lip. Kin was deep in thought, only Sasuke maintained a cold expression. Seeing the state of his quasi-students, the ash-haired man grinned. "Let's begin." The former ANBU member commanded, timing the time. The children immediately rushed into the bushes. Not bad, thought Kakashi, wondering if they would guess the true purpose of this test. "We can't win alone, he's quite a strong jonin, we need to team up," Senja thought to herself. First she found Uzumaki, then Sasuke. They sat and thought over a plan, how to take away the bells, having told each other about their possibilities beforehand. It took them a fair amount of time to draw up a plan, but they were satisfied. Senja ran out of the bushes and hit the ground. The earth split and rose up. Kakashi was surprised by Kin's strength. Having managed to escape from under the pieces of earth, he did not notice how Sasuke jumped from the tree and began to fold the seals of the fireball. Hatake reacted quickly, using a substitution. Suddenly Naruto rushed at him with dozens of his clones, who pretty much frayed his nerves with their screams. Only then the alarm rang, and the bells, as they hung on the belt of the Yondaime student, still hang, not moving. Not bad. But, as you can see, I still have the bells. Therefore, as a punishment, the most useless member of your team will be tied up. And the rest of you, well, I will allow you to have lunch. But, under no circumstances should you feed or untie the offender. The second attempt will be after lunch, if you want, of course. Kakashi tied Uzumaki to a pole, and gave Uchiha and Senju bento, and he himself went somewhere. Naruto swallowed, looking at her teammates eating. However, when they noticed this, the girl immediately turned away, blushing slightly. Sasuke glanced at the daughter of the Sanins, asking, "Can I?" She nodded. Ototo Itachi approached the tied blonde, took some food with chopsticks. He began to feed her, only this problematic woman did not open her mouth. "Open your mouth," the second heir of Uchiha Ikazoku said through clenched teeth. "No," Naruto demonstratively turned away, not intending to accept food from her opponent's hands. Only the boy has other plans. He forcibly turns her head, and literally shoves food into her mouth. "Chew," the brunette ordered. Naruto began to lazily move her mouth, slowly chewing the food, while Kin cut the ropes that tied her up. "Thank you." Naruto was embarrassed and sincerely didn't understand why they did that. "Why did you do that?" The blue-eyed girl decided to ask anyway. "If we want to try to defeat him again, we need P-power," Kin explained to her. Suddenly their mentor appeared in front of them. By the way, he was angry. His ki was putting pressure on everyone, making them nervous. "You," Hatake began, his tone did not bode well. The children tensed. "They passed." The copyist exclaimed triumphantly. His charges frowned. "How so?" "In the shinobi world, those who do not follow orders are considered trash. But those who betray their friends are worse than trash." The ash-haired man explained his decision. "You did everything right by untying and feeding your teammate. Therefore, I decided that you are not so hopeless. That's all for today. We will meet tomorrow at the residence, at 11 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't be late." Shaking his finger at his team, the jonin disappeared. The guys fell into a stupor. Having recovered a little from the shock, they gave each other 5. Having rejoiced, the teammates were about to disperse, but their plans were not destined to come true. Because Naruto, taking her friends by the wrists, ran towards Ichiraku. A couple of minutes later they reached Ramanea. Senju and Uchiha decided to listen to their friend's opinion, since this person knew everything about these noodles. The eternal rivals could not help but compete in eating ramen, so now, having eaten their fill of the Jinchuriki's favorite food, they argued, who ate more? I ate more than you, Dadaboyo. Naruto excitedly argued. I'm bigger, Sasuke answered calmly, not paying attention to his rival's exclamations. Kin was tired of listening to her friends argue, and she ignored everything and simply enjoyed the taste of noodles. Who ate more? Naruto and Sasuke asked the scientist's daughter at the same time. Uzumaki and Uchiha could not always come to a common agreement, or rather, they never came to a common opinion, so it was she, their beloved friend, who was given the opportunity to resolve their conflict. Well, she hesitated, not knowing what to answer. Both. The daughter of the Sanins knew perfectly well that they would not stop and would continue to defend their opinions, which is what actually happened. After shouting at each other, the boys decided to go home. And the argument was exhausted. After all, the children had known each other for a long time. Returning home, Senju Jr. decided to make her mother happy first of all. Kachan, we passed Kakashi-sensei's test. Well done, the woman patted her daughter on the head. The parent and her child were heading to the kitchen to have dinner and share their impressions of the day. At the agreed time, the team stood at the residence, waiting for their eternally late sensei. When he arrived, Naruto gave him a gloomy look. Her friend tried to dissuade her from screaming. Having apologized to the students, Hataki headed to the Sandame's office. The children walked behind, quietly wondering, what mission will the Hokage give them? You should have seen Uzumaki's face when Sarutobi, or rather the third, told them their first, difficult mission to catch the fire daimyo's wife's cat. Stopped by Sasuke's frown, Naruto swallowed all her indignation. Taking a photo of the escaped cat, they went to the clearing where they had last seen the fugitive. Upon arrival, the children and their mentor split up. Kin summoned her favorite snake, Midoriya, to find the missing item. Kinchan, did something happen? The summoned one asked. Midoriya had grown noticeably since their last meeting. Yes, can you please find the cat? The snake didn't agree right away, but it crawled to look for the cat. A few minutes later, the cat's roar was heard throughout the clearing, and everyone except Kakashi came running. An interesting picture appeared before the guys, a green snake, wrapping itself around the body of a white, fluffy cat. The latter was nervous. It wasn't every day that a snake wrapped itself around its body. Naruto swallowed nervously. For some reason she imagined herself in the poor animal's place. Is that her? Sasuke asked. Kin nodded affirmatively. Senju approached the animals, crouched down next to them. She heard the Uchiha's voice. Be careful. The snake might be poisonous. Not paying due attention to his warning, the girl asked Midoriya to let the poor cat go. The snake fulfilled the request, received gratitude and a promise of a quick summoning, and disappeared. The girl picked up the bewildered animal in her arms. That's it, said Kin, noticing the approaching mentor. How did you manage to get rid of the snake? Naruto asked, coming closer. I summoned her, Kin answered the question. Naruto still didn't understand. I used the summoning technique, Senju explained. Uzumaki nodded. Arriving at the residence, the first thing they did was give Tora to the mistress who had squeezed the poor thing half to death. Then, having reported to the Hokage about the mission they had accomplished, they said goodbye and each went home. Kin and Sasuke walked Naruto home. They only walked together because they lived in the same direction. It was early October, but Konoha was still warm. Do you know when Naruto's birthday is? Sasuke interrupted the silence. On October 10th, but she stopped celebrating it about 6 years ago, Kin answered, looking sad. But we still have to congratulate her. I agree, Kin agreed with him, and that was where they ended. Today was October 10th, 12 years since the Kyuubi's attack on Konoha. 12 years since the death of Yondaime and his wife. 12 years since Naruto Uzumaki's birthday. Many grieved, ignored, went on a drinking binge, suffered, cried. All the residents will never forget that ill-fated day. Trying to ease their pain, adults began to mock the demon. Naruto, realizing that it was on her birthday that they mocked her more cruelly, stopped celebrating it. This year everything would have been as usual. Only her friends decided to disrupt her plans and celebrate her birthday, a friend after all. And now, walking to her house, Sasuke was actively arguing with Kin. Yes, you heard right, Sasuke was arguing with someone other than Naruto. Why me? Go away, you girls have plenty of topics for conversation, the brunette was indignant. Go away. Senju did not back down. After arguing for another 5 minutes, they parted ways. Sasuke went to Uzumaki's house to decorate her apartment, and Kin went to get a gift. Flashback. Young Senju and Uchiha were sitting by the pond, which was in the park, puzzled over a gift for their beloved friend. Already in the park and thought about what to give their friend, whose birthday is tomorrow. Sasuke wanted to hit his head on the nearest pole, the only thing that stopped him was that he was an Uchiha. The second heir wandered around the village in search of his beloved Otudo, passing by the park, for some reason he wanted to take a walk there. After walking several alleys, he came across his lost brother, who was sitting next to her. His heart sank, his eyebrows furrowed. Are they on a date? Flashed through the head of the older brunette. Without wasting a minute, he headed towards the children. Hello, why are you sitting? Itachi asked. The children turned around. Hello, they said at the same time. We think Naruto's birthday is tomorrow, and we don't know what to give her. And we don't know what to give her, Sasuke explained to him. Well, maybe some kind of animal then? Itachi suggested. Exactly. Kin said. Okay, Enai-san, we'll go to the pet store, bye. The younger one said goodbye to him, walking towards the store. Bye, Itachi, TT thank you for the idea, Kin thanked him with a smile, and Itachi's heart felt warmer from her smile. After some time they came to a pet store, the children carefully examined each animal. Maybe a hamster? Sasuke asked, looking at the cage with small hamsters. They live for 1 or 2 years, Kin did not agree with her friend's choice. Fish are fine. Naruto needs a pet to play with. Uchiha thought. A pet to play with, long-lived, cute in appearance, but can bite. Who could it be, the brunette thought. Suddenly, a squeak was heard from somewhere. Having found the source of the sound, a box that stood near the cash register. Ototo Itachi decided to clarify whether the future gift was there. Excuse me, is there a puppy in there? Sasuke asked, coming closer to the box. Yes, the last one left, 9 months old, said the cashier. Sasuke went back to Kin. Let's give her a puppy, suggested Naruto's eternal rival. They live a long time, and Naruto can play with them, Kin agreed, and they went to the checkout. Can I take the puppy? Asked Kin. The woman nodded and handed her a small puppy with red fur. It was happily wagging its fluffy tail. How much is it? The puppies are free, the woman replied and smiled sweetly. Thank you very much, the children thanked her. Let's go. Uchiha was already heading towards the exit. Where are you going? The younger one did not understand the actions of her friend Senju. The little ball of fur in her arms squealed happily because the girl scratched him behind the ear. We did choose a puppy, Kin chuckled at her friend's words. Starting to list the things their gift needed. Sasuke snorted, and they went to choose a bed, toys, a collar, a leash, food, bowls, and many other things for their new friend. They both decided that the puppy would live with Kin for a while. Now, having done all the necessary shopping, the boys were heading home to Senju. Sasuke was carrying heavy bags, and Kin was carrying the puppy. Senju was the first to enter the house, and Tsunade met her at the door. Sasuke followed, carefully placing the bags on the floor. The Sannin frowned, looking at the puppy, the bags, and the children. Hello, Tsunade-sama, Sasuke greeted. Hello Sasuke, what kind of puppy is this? Tsunade asked, squinting. This is a gift for Naruto, her birthday is tomorrow, for now it will be here, we'll pick it up tomorrow, Kin explained. Tsunade sighed heavily. Okay, she agreed. Sasuke said goodbye to them and went towards his house. And mother and daughter decided to have dinner. End of flashback. Uchiha approached Uzumaki's apartment, knocked, and began to wait for an answer. A couple of minutes later, a frowning Naruto opened the door. greatly surprising the brunette with her facial expression. He had never seen her so frowning and sad. "Hey, let's go for a walk?" Sasuke asked. Naruto was surprised, but still agreed. Having spent a little time getting ready, they literally left her house 10 minutes later. It was unanimously decided to go to the park, while our couple went for a walk. Kin approached the door. As it turned out, the door was not locked. Senju entered the apartment where it was clean and tidy. She hung balloons, various decorations, cut a cake, moved the puppy and his things from the house. Sasuke came home to Naruto before her. Because she decided to take a walk, they turned off the light and began to wait for Uzumaki to return. The children waited for the blonde for half an hour, and finally Naruto came. When she entered, they suddenly jumped out, almost scaring Naruto. Then there were congratulations, wishes, hugs, and in the end, they gave her a puppy. Uzumaki did not expect this and burst into tears of happiness. "Why did you have to do that?" Naruto asked, wiping away her tears, the puppy laying quietly on her lap. "We are your friends," answered Kin, hugging her friend. Sasuke, seeing this idol, also decided to join in, carefully hugging his friends. He smiled. The girls were a little embarrassed, but did not move away. Friends, how much this word means. Commentary on Chapter 7. Thank you for such activity. Thank you to the beta for editing. P.S. They are thinking of creating a group. Please write your opinion in the comments. Part 8 For the second month in a row, Team 7 had been doing rather boring tasks, weeding the garden, feeding the dogs of the Inuzuka clan, helping the grandmothers, etc. While the children worked hard, they got tired. Their sensei disappeared somewhere, sending clones on tasks in his place. Now the entire team number 7 stood before the Hokage. Even Kakashi showed up, strangely. Hiruzen was calmly smoking a pipe, sorting through papers, and looking for the necessary mission. "Your mission is to help the janitors sweep the park," Sarutobi calmly announced. "Old man, give me a normal mission already, Dadaboyo." Naruto couldn't stand it any longer and shouted. You can't imagine how tired she was of these boring, tedious missions. The others completely agreed with her, although they were embarrassed to express their dissatisfaction so openly. The third one turned his gaze to their sensei, who was standing behind him. Kakashi nodded. "Okay, here's a C-rank mission for you." Sandaime gave in, and began shuffling through the papers again. I think this will suit you. Your task, escort the famous architect and bridge builder, Tazuna-san, to the land of waves. Tazuna-san, come in." At that moment, a rather elderly man burst into the office. Their customer reeked of it from a meter away. They wanted to immediately pinch their noses with their fingers, but, remembering that they were shinobi, the children stopped. Kakashi looked at this bridge builder skeptically. He was wearing a V-neck shirt with short sleeves, an obi belt, pants, and a pair of sandals. He also wore a towel around his neck and a pointed cap on his head. "These are your escorts, team number 7, the old man introduced them. "These will protect me? They don't even look like shinobi, especially the one with the ponytails." Tazuna grumbled. Uzumaki looked around and realized that she was the only one with ponytails. Naruto wanted to tell him something, but Sasuke covered her mouth with his hand, stopping her. "Okay, we'll meet in an hour at the gates of Konoha." Kakashi sighed tiredly, receiving nods in response. He disappeared into the Shunshin. The children said goodbye to the Hokage and the architect. Only Naruto gave the customer a contemptuous look before leaving. Arriving home, the girl found her mother there, who had just come from the hospital. Having greeted the woman, the scientist's daughter decided to tell her mother about the mission to accompany the bridge builder. "Kachan, can you imagine, we were given a C-rank mission," the little girl said, hugging her mother. You were given a C-rank mission quite early. Okay, tell me, what is it?" The first granddaughter asked, hugging her daughter back. "To accompany Tazuna-san, a famous bridge builder and architect to the land of waves," Orochimaru's daughter answered, not expecting her mother to panic and give a bunch of instructions and advice that would be useful during the mission. Well, that's what the elder Senju thought. Kin could only listen and remember. An hour later they were already standing and waiting for their sensei and customer. A couple of minutes later they came and set out on their way. The whole way Kakashi was reading his book, Sasuke, Kin, and Naruto were talking about something, and Tazuna was nervous the whole way. A couple of hours later, Sasuke and Kin noticed a puddle, even though it wasn't raining, and as soon as they wanted to ask Kakashi about it, two missing nin from the Hidden Mist village jumped out of the puddle. Gozu has messy dark brown hair and dark eyes. He wears a rebreather that covers the lower half of his face and a large, clawed, poisonous gauntlet on his right hand that had a chain coming out of it, the other end of which was attached to his brother's gauntlet. Gozu's attire consists of a camouflage suit with bandages around his waist, dark knee-length sandals, and a tattered black cloak. His Kirigakure forehead protector has a single horn on it. Meizu had long, shoulder-length, dark brown hair and dark eyes. He wore a respirator that covered the lower half of his face and a large poisonous glove with claws on his left hand, from which a chain came out, the other end of which was attached to his brother's glove. He wore a camouflage suit with bandages around his waist, dark knee-length sandals, and several pouches around his waist. On his forehead was a hidden mist forehead protector that had horns. The guys stood up to protect Tazuna, who was shaking with fear. Naruto is participating in a serious mission for the first time, where you can't hesitate and doubt, you need to go straight to the goal. From the realization that she can lose to them, let the team down, she feels bad, her hands began to shake from fear, her gaze darted from one to the other. Kin and Sasuke were also discouraged by the attack, but they kept themselves in hand. Knowing that you can't give in to panic under any circumstances. Hatake quickly dealt with one of the brothers, and they tied the second one to a tree. While the mentor dealt with Gozu, Meizu managed to wound the Jinchuriki with his claws, letting poison into her body. Noticing this, Kin immediately removed the poison from the blonde's body. Kakashi was going to interrogate the second one, but he died because of the poison that was in his mouth. Having sealed the bodies of the demon brothers, the copyist turned his gaze to the customer, who was trembling with fear, looking warily at the scroll in the ash-haired man's hand. "Is there anything you want to tell us?" the commander of Team Number 7 asked, squinting. The bridge builder swallowed, taking a deep breath. The man began his story. Tazuna said that the Wave Country was very poor, that one of the richest people in the world, Gato, was to blame for this. That there was not enough money to pay for the higher-ranking mission, only S. That the bridge needed to be completed, otherwise, the residents would not be able to live normally. The architect talked and talked, sometimes complaining about his fate, and when he finished, he waited with bated breath for their sensei's decision. "This is a B or a rank mission, it's better to return to the village, they're not ready for this yet." Hatake frowned and gave his verdict, mentally hoping that the children would agree with him. "Kakashi, sensei, we need to continue the mission, this is our first serious task, we can't fail it." Dadaboyo. Naruto objected. "I agree Naruto," Kin supported her friend. Uchiha said, misleading everyone. Only Naruto realized that he also agreed. Hatake looked up at the sky, asking why he was getting all this. "Are you absolutely sure about this?" the ash-haired man asked one last time. The children nodded. He chuckled and folded the summoning seals, and a small pug dog with brown fur and a dark brown muzzle and ears appeared from the white haze. He was wearing a blue vest and had a Konoha forehead protector tied around his head. "Pakken, take this to Hogage-sama," Kakashi asked, and handed the small scroll to the dog. "Okay, Kakashi," Pakken answered him and ran towards the village. Chapter 9 The team, having learned about the situation of the Wave Country, became more attentive to everything. Having sailed across the river in a boat, there was not much further to go. "Get down!" The copy ninja quickly commanded and knocked his students and the builder to the ground. A second later, a huge sword flew over their heads, crashed into a tree, and a tall, muscular man jumped on it. Short dark hair, brown eyes, and small eyebrows. His body was bandaged, and a hidden mist village forehead protector was tied to his forehead. The swordsman had an open chest, covered by a belt, and a kubikuribocho hanging on his back. He also wore baggy pants with the typical Kirigakure striped pattern, dark arm guards that reached his elbows, and matching leg warmers. "Zabuza Momochi, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist," Kakashi said, looking at him. "Kakashi Hatake, the copy ninja." "What an honor," Zabuza chuckled, "give the builder back the good way." No, Kakashi answered and began to lift the protector that was on his eye. You are protecting the builder, we are not getting into a fight, Kakashi commanded. He lifted the protector. In his right eye a Sharingan with 3 Tomo was burning. Uchiha looked at the sensei's eye in shock. He could not understand where Kakashi had the Uchiha clan jutsu from. Sharingan, Uchiha said quietly, hoping that no one would hear him. Sharingan what? Asked Uzumaki, who finally heard the Uchiha. Sharingan is a clan jutsu of the Uchiha clan. Capable of seeing the enemy's next steps, Senju answered for the Uchiha. Do not engage in combat. Protect Tazuna-sama. The former Ambushnik commanded and entered into combat with the swordsman. The team stood in combat readiness next to the customer. Instantly the whole area was covered in thick fog and nothing could be seen. Zabuza wanted to quickly deal with Hatake and kill his victims like the others. But not this time. Kakashi was able to dodge the attack. Momochi was surprised by this. It will be fun to fight with you, the swordsman said with a grin. Kakashi copied all of his opponent's actions. Soon they were on the water and using Suiton techniques. Zabuza was able to trap the copy ninja in a water prison. Sasuke, we need to save Kakashi-sensei immediately, shouted Uzumaki, who could barely see what was happening on the water. Yes, Kin, stay with Tazun-sama, Sasuke commanded. Kin nodded. Naruto and Sasuke quickly came up with a plan of action. Hatake was very worried about his students and could not figure out how to get out of the trap. He had 2 or 3 minutes of oxygen left. A single shuriken flew at the swordsman, which he was able to catch with ease. Are your students really capable of this, Kakashi? Zabuza asked and laughed loudly. His laughter was interrupted by a flying shuriken. Another shuriken hid behind the first one. Ghost shuriken jutsu, Zabuza thought and jumped. A barely noticeable grin appeared on Sasuke's face. The shuriken behind him turned into Naruto. Take that! She shouted and threw a kunai at him. Kakashi and Zabuza looked at her in surprise. A second later the kunai almost touched the swordsman's shoulder, but he moved his hands away and now Kakashi could continue the fight again. This angered the swordsman and he spun the shuriken to throw it at Naruto. You're finished, Zabuza said through his teeth. Naruto was scared, but the shuriken stopped Kakashi with one hand, and Uzumaki fell into the water, but emerged a second later. An excellent plan, Naruto, you've learned a lot, the copyist praised her. Naruto giggled contentedly. Zabuza pressed the shuriken harder on Kakashi's hands. He pushed up sharply and the shuriken flew into the sky. Momochi jumped away from Kakashi, and he did the same. Ushi, Saru, Yu, Eni, I, Torai, Ushi, Uma, Torai, Na, Torai, Imu, Tora, Mi, Ushi, Ji, Mi, I, Itsu, Ji, Eni, said Zabuza and began to fold the seals. Kakashi said the same. After repeating this pattern a few more times, the water began to tremble violently. Element Suiton. Water dragon, said both, and from the water appeared 2 huge water dragons. And began a fight, from which there were not big splashes. Kakashi and Zabuza held each other. The dragons disappeared and both jumped back. Kakashi began to imitate all of Zabuza's actions and was able to read his thoughts. Kakashi used the whirlpool technique and the swordsman was carried on the water through the forest. The water went a few meters and retreated. Zabuza's body crashed into a tree. Hatake found himself next to a tree and threw a kunai at the swordsman so that he would not run away. You're finished, Zabuza, Kakashi said in a cold tone and looked at him. 2 shinbons flew at Momochi's neck, and an umbu of the hidden mist village appeared next to him. He was a young man of about 16 to 18 years old, wearing a dark green kimono, a white mask hiding his face, and 2 long strands of hair hanging over his face. Thank you for defeating Zabuza. I will take him with your permission. The body holds many secrets that are better not known to others, said the umbu and lifted the body. Can I check your pulse? Kakashi asked. The chakra of this umbu had appeared unexpectedly and it was making him a little nervous. Yes, the ambushnik agreed. Kakashi jumped down from the tree and checked for a pulse, and there was none. After that, the young man and the swordsman's body disappeared from sight. Kakashi's team and the customer ran up to him. A few seconds later, Hatake fainted. Kin ran up to him and ran her hand with green chakra across his forehead. "Well, how is it?" Uzumaki asked worriedly. "He has chakra depletion, we need to wait until it recovers," Sensei gave her verdict. "Tazuna-sama, is it far to your house?" Sasuke asked. "No, very close," he answered with a trembling voice and took Kakashi in his arms. And they moved towards Tazuna's house. Commentary on Chapter 9. Part 10 Soon the team and the customer reached Tazuna's house. They were met by his daughter, whose name is Tsunami. She has long blue hair and black eyes. She wears a pink shirt with short sleeves, and the collar is painted red. She also wears a long blue skirt. Kakashi was given a room on the second floor, and the boys were given a room next door. After a long journey, the boys immediately fell asleep. The team slept until almost 12 o'clock in the afternoon. The half-breed of the Senju clan was the first to get up. She left the room to help Tsunami. Before the day off, she let out a laugh into her fist so as not to wake up her teammates. About 20 minutes after Kin woke up, Uchiha woke up. He felt a weight on his chest and looked at the light crown that was lying on his chest. Naruto hugged Sasuke all over, not allowing him to move his body's limbs in any way. A blush came to his cheeks. Unable to resist, Uchiha ran his hand through Naruto's hair, and God, how soft it was. Uzumaki began to wake up. Sasuke noticed this and pretended to be asleep. Naruto opened her eyes. Rubbing her cheek against Sasuke's chest, thinking it was a pillow, but it turned out to be hard for a pillow. Sleep vanished as if by magic and Naruto immediately tore herself away from the Uchiha, blushing terribly. Checking that Sasuke was asleep, she exhaled, but the blush did not go away. Having gathered herself, Naruto went out and went down to the first floor. Kin and Tsunami were already setting the table. Uzumaki stared at Kin, whose long hair was tied up in a messy bun and some strands fell on her face. It was the first time she saw her friend with a bun and was surprised by it. A few minutes later, Sasuke came down to the kitchen. Naruto turned away and blushed when he saw him. Uchiha also turned away and tried to hide his blush. When Tsunami and Kin finally set the table, everyone started eating breakfast. Senju finished first, cleaned up after herself and thanked Tsunami, then headed to Kakashi. Uchiha and Uzumaki followed her example and headed to the second floor. As they both entered the room, Kin scanned him with a blob of green light. "What's wrong with him?" Uchiha asked and leaned against the wall. "SS." A couple of hours later, Kakashi actually woke up. After eating, he announced evening training. The sun had almost set behind the horizon. The blue sky had acquired something resembling an orange color, the clouds had become pinkish. The grass was slowly swaying in the wind. Having reached the clearing where there were 3 tall pines. "The essence of the training is to walk on a tree," said the ash-haired one and stood close to the tree, and easily climbed a couple of steps up the tree trunk. Uzumaki was in complete shock at what their sensei did. Sasuke and Kin stood a step further than her and kept a calm face. "To do this, you need to get chakra into your feet and walk on the tree. Your training will be finished when you reach the top of the tree. Here is a kunai, mark the last step with it." Kakashi explained and handed them a kunai. "You can begin," added Hitaki and went to read his book. "I'll do it faster than you, data boy," Naruto shouted and went towards the tree. She directed chakra into her foot and was ready to conquer the tree. As soon as her foot touched the tree, Uzumaki fell. Uchiha let out a laugh and walked proudly towards the nearby tree. But he was better than Uzumaki, because he managed to take 2 steps, but still fell. "Kin, did you succeed?" Naruto asked and shook herself off from the fall. "Where are you?" Uzumaki asked again when she turned her head, but did not see her friend. "I'm here," Kin shouted, crossing her arms over her chest and leaning against the tree trunk. Sasuke and Naruto raised their heads. Uzumaki slightly opened her mouth in surprise, but immediately turned her gaze to the Uchiha. "Then I'll be second," Naruto said with a smile on her face and ran up the tree. Sasuke frowned, but followed Naruto's example and ran too. Kakashi basically assumed that Kin would cope first, since she already uses medical techniques, and for their use, perfect chakra control is needed. Senju clearly remembers how she suffered when she tried to walk on a tree. They don't look at her exact chakra reserve compared to others. But she had to sweat for a couple of days. On other surfaces it was already better. Kin came down from the tree and watched as her friends competed with each other. From another defeat, Naruto lost her head and confidently walked towards Kin and became almost close. "How did you do that?" Naruto asked, looking straight into Senju's eyes. "Yes, how?" Sasuke asked, approaching Naruto. The latter jerked and moved away. Kin explained how to do it. Uchiha understood the first time and proudly walked to the tree. Uzumaki snorted and continued listening to Senya. A couple of minutes later, Uzumaki also went to the tree. A couple of hours later, the former ANBU closed the book, drawing others to him. "Training is over for today," Kakashi announced. Kin stood up from the grass where she had been sitting for a couple of hours. Naruto and Sasuke were breathing heavily. "Kakashi-sensei, can I please have a little more?" Naruto asked in a pleading tone. "Okay, they should be in the house in the evening," said Hitaki, and headed towards the house, followed by Senju. The sun had already set behind the horizon. Little by little, stars appeared in the sky. "Kakashi-sensei, maybe we should go get them?" Kin asked, looking out the window. As soon as Kin asked this, two exhausted genin came into the house, all covered in bruises and scratches. "So how did it turn out?" Kin asked, looking at her teammates. "Half," Naruto proclaimed triumphantly. "We'll continue tomorrow," Sasuke said in a calm tone. "Well, that's all for today, you can rest," Kakashi said through a smile. Exhausted, Naruto and Sasuke headed to the second floor, just to get a couple of hours of sleep before dinner. Comment to Part 10. Is this a new chapter? Unexpected. Sorry for the long wait for the sequel. Part 11 Early morning. The birds are still up. The entire living world is asleep. Everything is quiet and it feels like you are in a lifeless world. There was a light fog right at the ground. In the midst of this silence, the sound of running on wood and the sound of something being cut could be clearly heard. The sun hadn't risen yet, and Naruto Uzumaki was already training. She was grateful that she had good regeneration. A couple of hours of sleep and she was ready to continue training. If only she could defeat this Sasuke. Uchiha was her main enemy. She just can't lose to him. Become worse than him. The girl wiped the sweat from her forehead and prepared for the next attempt. The entire tree was cut with small but deep cuts from the kunai. No matter how resilient she is, she still has the body and organism of a child. She also slept a couple of hours. And this affected the situation. The blonde decided to rest and sit down in the center of the clearing. After sitting for a couple of minutes, she lay down on the ground. It was cold, and there was a race on the grass. It was unpleasant, but nothing more. Naruto herself did not understand how she was able to fall asleep. A few minutes of silence and a girl with long dark hair came into the clearing. She was dressed in a pink sleeveless kimono with black swirl patterns on it. On her waist was a classic white obi in the form of a bow. And on her feet were a pair of light brown sandals with dark stripes. And on her neck was a black necklace. The girl sat down not far from the clearing where Naruto slept and began to collect medicinal herbs. Still, she noticed the heroine and headed towards her. From a distance, it looked like Naruto was dead rather than sleeping. Either Naruto's senses or something else worked, but she suddenly woke up. The girl who had already approached Naruto shuddered. Uzumaki was a little ashamed that she had frightened such a beautiful girl. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you," Naruto said embarrassedly and scratched the back of her head. "Everything is fine, don't worry," the girl answered calmly and sat down next to Naruto. "What are you doing so early in the morning?" Uzumaki asked and looked at the girl. "I was collecting medicinal herbs for someone dear to me, and do you have one?" "And what do you do in the morning too?" the brunette asked in response. "I was training. I have people dear to me, Naruto answered without thinking and immediately remembered a bunch of people dear to her. Kin is her best friend, who was the first to befriend her. She was not afraid of her and saw her as a friend, a person, but not as a monster who attacked the village on a fateful night and took away a lot of life, like many. Sasuke, even for her he was a dear person, whom she honestly dislikes, at least that's what she shows. He is her eternal rival, but also her best friend. The truth about her best friend she will never tell. Kakashi is her teacher, the team's mentor. He taught Naruto, gave advice. Despite the fact that on some missions he sent a clone, and he himself walked somewhere. But still, he stitched her up when Zabuza attacked them. And who is a dear person to you? The girl continued. I didn't think about it, Naruto answered. The girl asked questions, but Uzumaki answered them with pleasure. She was sociable and liked to talk to people. Probably this person whom you love and cherish. For his sake you will want to do everything in your power. Isn't it? The girl said and continued to pick herbs. You're probably right, Naruto smiled, let me help you? She offered her help, to which the girl agreed. Uzumaki told her a lot of things. About the academy, about friends. A lot of stories. The sun had already risen and the fog had gone. The earth began to warm up and the birds began to chirp. Insects began to buzz from the grass. The basket was full and the work was done. By the way, I'm a guy, he smiled sweetly, thanks for your help, maybe we'll see each other again. The guy stood up and went deeper into the forest. Uzumaki blinked in surprise that such a beautiful girl, with duck-like features and handsome appearance, turned out to be a guy. Sasuke is better, Naruto muttered and immediately blushed, realizing what she had just said. Stupid Sasuke, Naruto began to grumble and repeat this several times. Out of anger she began to hit the tree. You're the one who's stupid, the aforementioned Sasuke came out displeased. He was as always. Always with a cold expression on his face, hands in his pockets and a look that he was better. Naruto and Sasuke argued for a few more minutes, and during the argument, both of them turned out to be stupid and blockheads. They went away from each other and started training. They trained day and night. They forgot about everything. About sleep, about food, they just went to their goal. To beat each other. The desire to beat each other is more important than health. In their opinion. Maybe something really could have happened to them. If Kin didn't come to them in the evening and take them home. Like a mother taking her children from the playground. Sometimes it didn't work out very well. She resisted, but at such moments Tsunade's character showed itself. Uchiha and Uzumaki looked at each other angrily and ran up the tree again. Kin was completely ignored, she looked at them with displeasure. The sun had already set, the stars were already showing in the sky. Senju exhaled. When Naruto again exchanged glances with Sasuke, Kin quietly approached them and hit the necessary points to close the chakra channels for a couple of hours. Apparently they didn't notice this and rushed again. Uchiha, already running up to the tree, noticed something was wrong and stopped abruptly, unlike Uzumaki, who took 2 steps with complete confidence and fell. That's it, let's go, Kin said and helped Naruto stand up. Where? The training isn't over yet, Naruto said and handed Senju back. If you don't rest, your training will be over forever and without chakra it's useless, Kin said and pulled Naruto towards the house. Uchiha exhaled and followed his friends. He had no chakra and needed to rest. Orochimaru is one of the 3 legendary shinobi or sannin. He is only interested in experiments, studying new techniques. He has never fallen in love, and when the scientist, fixated only on strength, doubted that he would ever be able to love anyone. But, nevertheless, his newborn daughter literally made the great Sannin's heart tremble. Orochimaru has snow-pale skin, prominent cheekbones, long black hair, golden eyes, and a vertical pupil, purple markings around his eyes, snow-white fangs, and a long tongue. His appearance is somewhat reminiscent of a snake. Flashback. Let's go get a drink? Asked a girl of about 20, long blonde hair tied in a ponytail, rather pleasant colored eyes, light pink lips, a purple diamond in the middle of her forehead and large bust. The girl's name was Tsunade Senju, she was on the team with Orochimaru and Jiraiya, she is also a sannin. You only want to drink, the guy answered her, about her age, white hair sticking out in different directions, dark eyes, from them red streaks that look like tears. His name is Jiraiya, and he is also a Sannin. Tsunade still managed to persuade her teammates to go with her for a drink. It was almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a drunk Tsunade sitting at the bar, drinking an unknown glass of sake, Jiraiya sleeping on the bar counter, and Orochimaru, although he didn't look like a person who had drunk a huge amount of alcohol. Unlike his friends, he could still think and reason soberly. "I'll go," Orochimaru barely said, his tongue twisted from the alcohol. "Stop. Hick, first walk me home, there are all sorts of perverts walking the streets," Tsunade told him, finishing her bottle. Orochimaru grimaced, but still walked her home, because he definitely didn't want to get it. Orochimaru approached the slime princess's house and, holding her by the waist, entered the house, putting the Sannin on the bed so that she would not fall. The snake Sannin was ready to go home, get some sleep, and continue working again. But Tsunade grabbed Orochimaru's hand and pulled him towards herself. He could not hold on and almost fell on the blonde, barely managing to lean his hands on the side of the bed. He asked, "What are you doing?" He tried to get up, but his neck was wrapped in his girlfriend's arms, and his lips were covered by the lips of Shodai's granddaughter. The Sannin did not know what to do, but still responded to the kiss. Giving in to desire, two adults set off for the land of passion and love. The sun illuminated the land. Life in Konoha was in full swing. Shinobi came home after difficult missions, and some were just leaving for them. Children went to the academy to learn the art of shinobi, and ordinary civilians opened their shops. A ray of sun hit the sleeping Tsunade's face, her head resting on her friend's chest. Opening her eyes, she had a terrible headache. At first she didn't understand anything, turning her gaze to her peacefully sleeping teammate. Senju blushed sharply, resembling a boiled lobster. Tsunade pushed Orochimaru to the floor. Accordingly, he woke up. Having analyzed the situation, his cheeks burned. Having come to his senses, Orochimaru began to dress hastily. "So nothing happened between us, you understand?" Tsunade asked, her voice not tolerating any objections. "I agree," Orochimaru answered her, stretching the letter S in his favorite manner. A little later, he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Tsunade closed her eyes. "Oh God," was the only thing Senju squeezed out. 2 months passed since that night. Friends did not remember this story, they did not want to. Senju was sitting in the kitchen and eating marmalade with fish. This dish did not disgust her, on the contrary, some kind of pleasure. Finishing the last pack of marmalade, Tsunade tensed up and began to scroll through the symptoms of her illness in her head. After thinking about it, it dawned on her. Toxicosis, delayed period, strange food preferences. She was pregnant. After examining her stomach with the green cloud of chakra, her suspicions were confirmed. Senju was filled with conflicting feelings. He is the child's father, so let him be responsible for what he did, Tsunade said, and headed towards Orochimaru's house. After a 2-minute wait, the door opened, and a sleepy Sannin appeared in front of her, in a blue t-shirt and pants of the same color. "Congratulations, Orochimaru." Tsunade smiled and stroked her stomach, naively believing that he would understand everything himself. "WW with what?" Orochimaru asked, not paying attention to Tsunade's hand. "You're going to be a father," Tsunade said in an irritated tone. "Are you sure that I am the father?" "Yes, this is your child. If you decided that you can escape responsibility, then you," Tsunade threatened, flexing her fingers. "I didn't say that I was shirking responsibility, first of all, and secondly, I'm not abandoning the child," said Orochimaru. "The child is not guilty of anything, especially not that his parents are idiots." "Okay, fine." Senju calmed down, turning towards the store, probably to buy marmalade for the fish. "A child must be born in marriage," the scientist told the blonde when she was 3 months pregnant. That's why Tsunade and Orochimaru got married and were officially considered husband and wife. Tsunade's pregnancy was going well, her husband was always there and protected her. After all, she was carrying his child. The snake Sannin took out of the house almost every day all the alcohol that his wife hid. She knew perfectly well that its consumption was a danger to the child's life. And she honestly tried not to drink. Mito's granddaughter understood that for her, alcohol was a pleasure, but for the child, it was poison. And when Orochimaru caught her drinking, he got very angry, giving a lecture on the harm of alcohol to the life of a child. The snake Sanin took a promise from his wife that she would not take a sip until the end of the pregnancy. He exhaled relaxedly. Only the habit of hiding alcohol remained with her. The constant changes in mood tormented everyone, but the third student got it the most. She would yell at him for some trifle, then climb up to him with kisses. Her emotional leaps defied logic. And when the baby's gender became known, the parents made a scandal about the name of their child. It turned out that they were expecting a girl, a little princess. "What don't you like about the name Eri?" Tsunade asked, looking at her husband with a withering gaze. Orochimaru, although a calm shinobi, could be irritated by the behavior of his pregnant wife. "We need to calm down, this will end soon," Orochimaru whispered under his breath, but Tsunade clearly heard. "You're sleeping on the couch today." Tsunade wanted to add something else, but stopped, smiling, and touched her stomach with her hand. "Are you all right?" Orochimaru asked his wife in a worried voice, and without waiting for an answer, he approached her. "She's kicking," she answered her husband, breaking into a wide smile. "You see, she's not happy that I'm going to be sleeping on the sofa," the scientist said, showing off, involuntarily smiling his most tender smile. And so, the long-awaited day came. November 25th, the birthday of the daughter of two Sanin. Tsunade asked Orochimaru to be there during the birth.